What's up? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you, joined by Alec in the G. Burbick Farm Studios and the coach down below, holding the two of us up like some kind of arm candy. Attaboy, coach. We appreciate you. Strongest man in the world. We do have breaking news. Before we get to the breaking news, we are going to get right to the National Day at hand. We have a choice between National Babe Ruth Day, but it's always more fun to tell a story. So my question to you guys is, what's your favorite story to tell? Maybe break the ice, or to introduce yourself to some new friends around a campfire, whatever it may be. What's your favorite story to tell? Alec, go right ahead.
That's a hard one. I got a lot of good stories I like to tell, but one of my favorites is one year when I was doing my big summer camp for the Scouts. I was the leader at the time, so I had to go do this thing where we called it spoon safety, which means we went and ate ice cream. But while I was gone, my tent mate, my buddy Dalton, he was just sat down in the tent and he heard some chewing underneath my cot. Looks down there and there's a big old skunk just eating something. So he ran out of there, and that skunk came back and visited us pretty much every day for that week at camp. We named him Larry. He ate some cupcakes with us. Yeah, he's cool.
Good story. All right, this has got to be good. Coach, what's your best story?
You know, I've got a bunch of sports stories that I like to kind of roll through. And, over the years and coaching for, 16, 17 seasons now, I've really seen my fair share. But I think one of my favorites is, everybody loved to give Jeff Rizzo a real hard time when he was at McDonald. And, I was in that club. We sat, basically directly behind the scorer's table. And, we harassed him for a couple of years. Nothing over the top, nothing, all kind of in good fun. And my favorite moment was the day that he walked into the gym in Sebring, walked up to me and my buddy Wade, who were sitting in our usual seats, and says, "Am I going to have any problems with you guys tonight?" And, it basically developed into a nice relationship from there where, we always enjoyed seeing each other and made sure to say hello to each other, anytime we were in the same place.
Love it. That is a good story. And obviously, Coach Brazil, 1 year removed from the McDonald coach, but still holy in our hearts here as we look to get the return of I just lost the name of the show. What's
with him and Brian?
Yeah, him and Brian. They had that awesome show.
I was
Full
on
Court
it.
Press. Full Court Press. Full Court Press. It took me a second. I'm sitting there like basketball. So Full Court Press. We're looking to get Full Court Press back. We can't make any guarantees because it was one of the most popular shows we've ever had because of the I guess tomfoolery. Is that a good word that would happen on that show? I don't even know what that means, but we're going to go with it. But I
think that's a good word, and I think, a lot of people wanted to hear from Coach Rizzo and from Brian kind of outside of the court and outside of the confines of the court, and it was interesting to kind of get to know their personalities away from the game.
It was awesome to get to know both of those guys, and who knew that Coach Rizzo was so into, sports trading cards,
Yeah.
Does a great job with buying them and selling them, and he loves it. He is passionate about it. And then I think my favorite was little Riccatelli on the show, showing off his WWE action figures and hulking up and taking his shirt off. I think he was 6 years old, something like that. So hopefully we get that started again, FCP, back on YSN. My favorite story happened my senior year. We were playing Lisbon. There was a little bit of bad blood. And this is why I always say nothing can happen good after a season is over, because we were in one of those situations where we actually played Lisbon earlier that week. They beat us. We were out of the tournament, but we had a makeup game in what was then the TCL. Jay Yordy, the legend, was pitching out of Lisbon. I'm sure everybody's got a story about Jay Yordy, but this one's my favorite because it was our last game as Bulldogs, and I think the game was out of hand one way or the other. I can't remember who was winning, who was losing, but I know tempers flared. And Jay came up, and I think we talked about it. He typically is a right-handed batter. He batted left-handed. So being the catcher and the hothead that I was, I threw down the old number one sign. Not exactly for a fastball, maybe one finger over. And my buddy called me out to the mountain. Still one of my best friends to this day. Calls me out to the mound, and he's like, "What are we doing here?" I said, "I threw down the bird. You hit him." And he goes, "Okay, just want to make sure we were on the same page." So I walk back in, and I hear my coach, Troy Burdine, say, "Don't you do it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare do it." So I said, "Well, I'm a senior. What are you going to do to me? Like,
Yeah.
I've got nothing." Put down the sign again. So this pitcher throws at Jay Yordy, misses him completely. Inside, there's an umpire behind us that goes, "Hey, that's your warning." And so the next pitch was a fastball right down Main Street. I think Yordy thought that it was coming at him. He took the strike. Next pitch, threw down the sign again. Throws at him, misses again. So the umpire comes out and says, "That's it. That's your last warning. That's it. No more of that, or else you're gone." So I'm sitting there. The benches are starting to chirp. Coach is sitting there. He was mad at the time, but now I know that he was rooting for us to just not necessarily hit him, but like just a little bit of redemption. He may never say it publicly, but I know it. So the next pitch, I got a decision to make. I got to make this look like, all right, am I going to get my pitcher tossed out of this game, or what am I going to do? And I was like, hell yeah, I am. Boom. Throw the sign down. He throws it, hits, like, you aim for the back, right? You aim for the hip or the back area, never the head. You really don't want to hit a knee because you can mess some stuff up. Hits him in the knee, and then all of a sudden he starts chirping walking down to first base. Now we had the great the great vegetarian Craig Ward, who was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman by trade, could hit the ball a country mile for as long as I knew him. But he was our first baseman, and he starts walking down the line when Yordy's walking up the line, and we get chirps and chirps and chirps. But the umpire comes out. He goes, "That's it. You're out of here." And my buddy, he goes, "It slipped. It slipped." He said he slipped off the mound. So that's my favorite sports story that I have and hold dear. It's always a good one. No bench clearing brawl or anything like that. Although prior summer we did have a bench clearing brawl in Newton Falls, and I think I'm still not permitted in the city of Newton Falls. So that was a fun one. But it is National Tell a Story Day. So make sure you tell us your favorite story in the YSN chat box, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or on our site, ysnlive.com. And Twitch.
Or Twitch.
Of course.
Hey, I've got a question, DJ. And, you and I both Tri-County League guys from back in the day. Why did we all hate Lisbon so bad?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. It's the same
I don't
reason
either.
that, like, nobody liked Crestview either. You know what I mean? It was one of those situations where there's always that one team
Yep.
that you don't really know why. They're not rivals really with anybody. Leetonia can argue that they have a rivalry with Lisbon. But in Palestine, you're rivals with Crestview. You're rivals with Columbiana, Lisbon. We couldn't beat Sebring in baseball. My entire career, we couldn't beat them. We always split. So I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know why everybody kind of took to Lisbon.
It seemed like everybody in that league disliked the kids at Lisbon for some reason.
I didn't. There was no punches pulled. I was not a fan of Jay Yordy, but there was a couple people that I was really big fans of in Lisbon. I can't remember his last. He was my first ever home run in varsity. Name starts with a C. JC was initials, and I can't remember. Caldwell, Jared Caldwell, maybe.
That might be it.
Yeah, he was a great guy. Like every time he'd see me at a party, it was, "Hey, you hit a bomb off me. That thing's still going." One of those. Like that was the opener always. Like even
Those
into
are the
college.
guys- It's hard to be mad at those guys.
But it's
Okay.
it's funny. Like you go into college and everybody loves everybody again. You know what I mean? Oh, I
Right.
remember you played for such and such. You played for Sebring. I played. We do that all the time. It's one of those situations. You're always known by. Yes, you're known by where you go to college, but your grassroots are embedded in you, and you're always going to know. Alex always going to be a Rebel. You're always going to be a Trojan. I'm always going to be a Bulldog. One of those situations. It's really interesting because like people always go, well, you went to YSU. I didn't. I didn't go to YSU. I support YSU wholeheartedly, but I went to Westminster, and people don't always know that because of the support we do have for Youngstown State University. But Westminster people, I mean, maybe it's just with age, because now what you get more Westminster, you get more people from college saying, "Oh, I went there," which it should be. Like, you chose to go there. Nobody really chooses. I guess your parents do. They choose to put you in school where you go. And nowadays, I guess you do choose a little bit with the old OE.
Some people do.
So let me ask you this. This is breaking news out of the newsroom in WFMJ. So I want to say thank you to Jack Gerdick and his team. But look at this. Old Mikey back at it. Any fully vaccinated Ohioan will no longer have to quarantine if they are exposed to someone with COVID-19. The power of the vaccine allows us to do this. Also adding, by changing our health order, students 16 and 17 years old who are vaccinated will be able to participate in sports and other activities even when they have been exposed to someone with COVID. This is interesting. And obviously, we wouldn't bring this up if it didn't have a direct impact on sports.
Right.
But right there in the quote, it's by changing our health order, students 16 and 17 years old who are vaccinated will be able to participate in sports and other activities. Interestingly enough, today we had our first COVID knockout. Excuse me, quite some time with Boardman being knocked out for COVID. They won't be able to get back on the field until early May, which is next week. However, with this rule in effect with I won't say Coach DeWine, with Governor DeWine, does this change your take on what things are going to happen over the summer and into, I mean, Coach, especially you know, into your fall football?
Yeah, it's a real interesting topic, and I think that this is long overdue because, you know, the science has kind of supported this for a long time now, and, you know, I've been looking into it and hearing and researching for a while that, you know, you're like 99% unlikely to get COVID if you're outdoors, no matter how far away you are from people. And, you know, in the studies that were done, it was like 1 out of, you know, 140 people that had tested positive for COVID, you know, had even potentially contracted it outside. So I think that it's going to start to open things, especially outdoor things, back up a lot more for us coming up here. You know, I'm going to be interested to see the way that they kind of try to figure out who's got the vaccine, who doesn't have the vaccine, because it still seems like they're tying that to it a lot.
Yeah, it's real interesting, the timing behind this, because Cedar Point announced yesterday that unless you are in a place that you can't have 6 feet between you, which I would imagine that's a roller coaster, you do not have to wear masks. So, and you don't have to wear masks on the ride. That was part of the announcement. It's interesting that all this is coming out prior to summer festivals, you know, these fairs, and obviously people are going to go outside and do the concerts again, the outside, which I'm all for. Like, I want to get back to normalcy. Right. However, for somebody that is, I mean, there should have been like a notice, you know, before this, like, hey, just a heads up, working towards this, not this is immediate, you know, like I can go outside right now but here's the other side of it. Before I get too far into this, how the hell are we going to tell who's vaccinated, who's not? You know, everybody's saying get vaccinated, it's not mandatory. In a lot of places, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory in the state of Ohio. It's not mandatory by many. You know, how does this work? Where it's just the honor system, you know, and does that with HIPAA? You don't have to disclose if you get a shot or not.
I think that this is where they're starting to talk about, you know, vaccine passports and things. Not to, you know, take it on a political path or anything, but you know, it is going to be interesting to see the way that they try and control this, because I feel like, you know, it's been just kind of a strip away of the liberties that we have. And I want to see us, like you do, DJ, get back to, you know, normal and be able to do the things that we all enjoy doing.
It's just crazy. Like, you talk about normalcy, and we're going to get to Mardell's comment here in a minute, because that sounds like it's a good one. But I feel like they're forcing everybody's hand for this, the shot. You know what I mean? The vaccine. And listen, I don't care whether you're on one side or the next. It doesn't. You should have personal, choice to do this. But I just think it's interesting because now they're kind of putting everybody and saying, okay, we're either going to go by the honor system, or what happens if they catch you and you don't have your shot? Like, is everybody going to have it like a license, and they're just going to pull it out and say, I have my shot, so I can play football, or I can do this, or I can do that. I think you're opening up another case of Pandora's box with this, that you're going to have, the freedoms and things of that by parents, by coaches, by even players, student athletes. It's going to be hard to walk away from this. You know what I mean? They're walking into something that I don't think they know what's waiting for them on the other side. Alec, do you have a take on this one way or the other?
I think that things are starting to go back to normalcy, as we've said before, which is a great sign. And going into like the requiring the vaccine cards or whatever, like technically, if it's a privately owned thing, they can ask for it, but you don't have to disclose, and they can refuse you. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I mean, vaccines do help, but you shouldn't be required to get them by any means. So,
yeah, it's interesting. Nobody ever asked me about the a polio vaccine or anything like that. It just it just whizzes by. But because of COVID and it shut down the country and the way it's impacted everybody, now we're going to have to show our cards a little bit. Interesting.
And I nerd out on this, and this is kind of in my wheelhouse with the legal part of it and everything. But I'm going to be interested to see. I still fully believe that if they do try and require vaccine cards or anything like that, it's going to be a Supreme Court case. But the thing that we all have to remember is those cases take years to get there. We're talking about right now a case that's before the court of a girl in Western Pennsylvania. And she was 14 at the time, and now she just finished her freshman year in college. So, we won't have any resolution on any of this kind of stuff for a while.
So a little bit of breaking news again. Governor DeWine basically saying that any fully vaccinated Ohioan will no longer have to quarantine if they're exposed to someone with COVID. And I read that, again, you don't have to worry about necessarily the masks if you're outside. I read that in the WFMJ story, if you're fully vaccinated. I think you're walking a real thin wire here from 100 feet in the air, because how do you police this?
Yeah,
you can't.
Right.
I mean, you just can't. And then and if they do decide that they're actually going to police this, and there's going to be fines or anything like that, then you're really opening up a can of worms that you don't want to go down, because then you're asking the people that are supposed to keep up with our public safety, which is naturally our police officers, firefighters, et cetera, first responders. You're going to tell them that they have to add on to their already full plate of having to do this? Like, who's going to police this? There's nobody that's going to raise their hand and volunteer for this.
No. The other thing maybe a group of Karens, but the other thing that I kind of thought, that they're opening themselves up to is, if they're going to require a vaccine passport or anything like that, a forgery industry is naturally going to come up because of it. I mean, you've got people that are able to make fake IDs right now. So forging a vaccine passport is going to be a real thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Something that we shocker. Here we go. Betos is going to be the policeman of COVID. He's going to do it without shoes on too.
Yeah.
I think that it's going to be interesting. Again, I think we're trying to take the right steps. I think everybody's just at a loss for how to get there, to get back to normal from where we've come, from shutting down the entire country, shutting down the entire state, closing the doors on businesses. There's nobody happier than me that we get back to normal. Like, we want the fans back, hands down, because as great as it was last year to have sports, there was always something missing. Right. Always. And it was always the fans. And You talk about it. I watched the WrestleMania a couple weeks ago with the first fans back in WrestleMania and back in wrestling, and it was different. It was just different. Everybody had a little bit more energy. It didn't feel like a glorified practice in a lot of cases. So wait till these places are packed again. And if I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, whether they want a vaccine or not, if that's what it takes to do it, let's go. Let's get back to normalcy in whatever capacity we can. And it's going to be interesting. Oh, here we go.
You want to become famous?
You want to become famous? Sure do. By followers and viewers. Bigfollows.com. So there's a free plug for what's his name?
Not a sponsor yet.
Vinbitos.
But
Ventino's kid. If you want to advertise with YSN, hit me up.
Yeah, that's it. So let's do this because
real quick, just to put a bow on that. I just wanted to mention, now that these things are opening up and everybody's going to have a little bit more ability to go places and do things, if you have the ability to, make sure that you go out and support either, your local teams or your local businesses, because everybody has struggled through this thing over the last year. And if you've got the means to do it, become a customer or, make a donation to a local team or something, because everybody's hurting.
Absolutely.
Hear, buddy. Hear. And also, whenever these local businesses get back up on their feet, no better way to advertise, right? Than right here on YSN. And it doesn't cost you a whole arm and a leg either. Why does Jeff always feel like he has to treat the chat box as I don't even know. This is a text message? Coach, want to do 3 baseball games with me on Saturday?
We'll talk after the show, Jeff.
And then he'll come back, he'll get yelled at, and then he'll come back to me and be like, why did you put that up?
Yeah.
He knows your phone number. Just text Coach, Jeff.
He does have my phone number.
Unfortunately.
Sometimes I regret that.
Right? It is draft week in the pro football ranks. I almost dropped the old thing that I'm not supposed to say. So pro football has their professional football drafting out of the college ranks. It's going to be interesting. There's still a ton around who's going to be drafted where, how far people are going to slide, if somebody going to jump up the board on draft night. So I want to know, who is the biggest bust in sports history through the draft? And you can go any different sport, choose one or the other, and choose many. I don't care. Who has been the biggest draft bust in history? So, Alec, I know you are a huge draft guy. Love it, study it. Who has been the biggest bust to you?
The first name that comes to my head is Jamarcus Russell. Of course, draft number 1 by Oakland out of LSU. Supposed to be the next guy, and then big flop, to put it lightly. But another name that comes to mind isn't even pro football. It's Anthony Bennett. Was it the Cavs drafted him? Is that the correct name?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was another huge guy who, he's supposed to be the next guy, but just flopped big time. Those are the first 2 names that come to my mind.
I can get behind that one. Coach?
Yeah, so I didn't want to just pick one because there have been so many. And so what I decided to go with was the ability of the Cleveland Browns organization to draft since 1999 until about 2 years ago.
That's fair.
Think about this list: Johnny Manziel, Justin Gilbert, Trent Richardson, Tim Couch, Brady Quinn, Courtney Brown, Barkevious Mingo, William Green, Phil Taylor, Brandon Whedon, Gerard Warren.
Yeah.
William Green wasn't a bust.
He was pretty much a bust.
I don't know.
Wasn't good.
He wasn't what he was supposed to be. All these guys were taken very, very high in the draft. With the exception of, I guess you could probably say Brandon Whedon at 22 or Manziel at 22 isn't super high in the first round, but it's still a first-round draft pick.
First-round pick.
You usually only have one of those, and it's supposed to be, if you're good at drafting, if you're the New England Patriots or you're that team to the east of us that none of us can stand, and of course I mean the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, okay.
But no, I mean, if you're great at drafting as an organization, you're supposed to hit on those first round picks. It's supposed to be a guy that comes in and immediately impacts your franchise, and that's a big list to miss on, and it explains why there was so much terrible football in Cleveland, prior to the last season.
Since the Browns came back into the league in 1999, right? Whatever year that was. Baker will be the longest starter in Pittsburgh or in Cleveland as of this year.
How dare you even bring up the Pittsburgh?
The first Cleveland Brown quarterback since 1999 to start in 3 consecutive seasons.
Yep. That's insane.
I don't even know where to go with that. It boggles my mind because we lucked out. The Steelers lucked out with Roethlisberger. I mean, before Ben, there was Cordell. There was we had Tom Zach there for a pinch. Neil O'Donnell. It's I can't imagine going through all those quarterbacks. Yeah, everybody's seen the picture with the names on the back. Starting with Couch and then going all the way down, the Jeff Garcias of the world in there.
Spurgeon win.
Yeah, you missed on that one big. That was the Brady draft, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, we missed on that one too. Everybody missed on that one.
Yeah, even the Patriots missed on that one because
5 times.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I like the Jamarcus Russell play. I think that he was bad. Trent Richardson's got to be up there. Like, I remember when he came out and listen, the Browns fans are always like that, like, greasy kid with the trading cards. Like, he gets a new pack of trading cards and rips it open. He's like, oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, 3 in a row. Look at that, baby. I got the gold card. I got Ken Griffey Jr. What do you have? I have, well, I can't pronounce his name, but man, this is it's a gold card. Like, the Browns
Jake
always
Bowers.
act like they always act like they're smarter than everybody else when they do drafts, right? They always, this guy wouldn't have been, here in the second round. You traded up, if I'm not mistaken, to get Brandon Weeden. Traded up.
They did. Yeah. And I mean, the homeless guy on the street told our owner to draft Johnny Manziel. So, I mean, we've made some really, really dumb decisions. Luckily, we've got great football people in place now. I think that we've got a really good head coach that has a ton of potential to be a long-term solution at the head coaching spot.
Why? And this is going to turn into Browns versus Steelers.
I think that Andrew Berry is a great general manager in the making. He's a young guy that's paid his dues, and I think that he's made some smart decisions in the way that he's kind of paired football operations with analytics.
Yeah, but again, from an analytics standpoint, you and I talked about analytics before. People, and especially GMs and coaches, can get wrapped up in analytics and get too smart for themselves. I forget who it was talking about gut instinct and how it's always better for. I mean, I think a mix is necessary. You have to know what you're up against. You have to know the odds, which analytics helps you. But you also have to say, okay, well, I know where that guy was at 2 a.m. last night.
No, you're right. And from a coaching standpoint, I want to know the analytics. But when it comes down to it, game time on the field, if it's, 4th and 7 from our own 40 and, I feel like we've got a good chance to get it because the way the momentum in the game has kind of been going. At the end of the day, the analytics go out the window, and I'm trusting my gut and I'm trusting my guys. You're in the huddle and you're looking into the eyes of the guys that are standing there, and you're going with what your gut tells you to do in that moment, maybe not what the data says.
So, go ahead, Alec.
In a sports situation, if you're trusting numbers more than your players, then there's something wrong in my eyes. Most of the time. If you're feeling good about something, then go for it. Like you said, 4th and 7, momentum's on your side. You gotta take a shot, I think.
I think it's different in different sports because, like in football or in basketball, you're able to kind of look into their eyes and there's the desire factor that's there. Not that there's not desire in baseball or softball, but, you can be a little bit more analytical with the game in baseball and softball.
That's fair.
I mean, if the report comes up that the kid can't hit a curveball and you throw him 4 straight curveballs, the odds are against you in your analytics that he's going to hit a curveball.
Right.
Because he's going to see it over, or she is going to, over and over again. Football standpoint, it is a lot of feel. It's a lot of gut feel. I mean, I hate to bring this up, when the Chiefs went for it, that was a gut feel. When the Steelers didn't, that was also a gut feel. You think about that. 4th and 1, you got to figure stuff out. Oh, here comes EB. Hi, EB.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon to you. How are you?
Good. Doing adult things. New tires on the car. Trying to take care of one problem at a time. I really just got on so I could speak my beef today.
Go ahead.
We'll wait.
Okay. We're talking about the biggest busts in sports histories, and now we kind of dove into analytics a little bit about how those busts may not have been picked if all the analytics we have today were there 10, 20 years ago.
Ooh, biggest bust.
Yeah, who's the biggest bust in your eyes? It could be any sport.
And amazingly, nobody said Ryan Leaf yet.
That was mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, I feel like Ryan Leaf and who was it, Bosworth, are easy ones, but I think Greg Oden's got to be up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Ohio people won't say that one though.
No, dude, he was absolutely a bust, whether it was because of injury or not. I mean, injury's one thing, but you didn't shake out to be what you're supposed to be.
Sebastian Telfair, does he count as a bust?
Absolutely.
I mean, he was supposed to be the guy.
Paige just put Anthony Bennett, which you could
Alec
probably,
had that one.
yeah, you could throw that in there. But I mean, Bennett, I don't consider Bennett a bust because that's a bust on the organization. That was a Cavs fault, man. Like, you got to do better as an organization because he was nowhere near the top 10.
So not only that, but that was a terrible draft class, remember?
Right.
There was no consensus number 1 overall pick in that class. And I mean, I blame the Cavs for missing so terribly and not even getting a guy that could have been a role player out of that. But
well, I think they did. They got Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, they did.
Which an overpaid role player and he banked off of a TV deal and everyone else getting paid.
What's the name of that dude that the Cavs used to have? He scored 100 points in high school.
DeJuan Wagner.
That's what. Yep, DeJuan Wagner.
His son is a real deal though. DJ Wagner.
Did he score 100 points?
He's the number one. Well, he's the number one kid in his class right now. I don't know if he scored 100, but it's DeJuan Wagner was pretty good.
Yeah, he was, but nobody really knew who he was, Ty.
Yeah, at that point, Giannis wasn't Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis was like the European project. Like, hey, look, he's a 6'11" freak. He couldn't shoot. All he could do was drive. He had like a 7'4" wingspan. No one knew. And I guess that's like all the people who passed up on Steph Curry. You know, that's hindsight's 2020.
Right.
You remember Freddie Adu?
Yeah.
The soccer player that was supposed to be the next big thing. Like he got signed.
To make soccer the big thing in America, right?
Was it? Yeah, wasn't he was signed in high school, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was like 13 or 14, maybe 15. I don't know. I can't remember. I know it was in high school, but like a 14-year-old or 13-year-old, whatever it was, he had all that pressure for like you said, Matt, bringing all the soccer heads into America and carrying it. He was supposed to be the next. They were comparing him to Tiger Woods. They were comparing, LeBron James.
This is an interesting one to me from Paige, and there's a bunch of different ways you can go on this. And I don't think Maurice was a bust. I think that Maurice was a product of some bad decisions that made him be a bust.
Yeah. Did he ever play it down?
Not in a regular season game.
Okay.
Preseason only.
Adam Morrison, a dude who's the biggest soccer bust of all time. What else we got here? Forget his first name, but Morrison, dude. Yep, Adam Morrison. Oladipo was decision then Bennett at the time.
Vince Young could be in this conversation too.
So I don't think so. I think Vince Young's fine.
He was very highly thought of coming out of college, though.
Yeah, but
it's because everyone was on the hype from the national championship. He turned out to be an average NFL quarterback. It's not like
he was like Cordell, right?
Yeah,
you're right.
I
mean, but there were people that were talking about how he was going to change the game completely.
And
his expectations weren't met. But
I mean,
they said the same thing about Robert Griffin III. I mean,
that dude. I mean, is that a bust? He's still playing
because of injury, but yeah.
I
hell of a first year.
But I want to see him because he's still playing. He's still a backup. Is he still in Baltimore?
Yes, and the Redskins are still feeling the wrath from all those trades that they had to give away to get him.
Yeah. And no, I do not consider Sean Livingston a bust. Dude, that was probably one of the grossest injuries I've ever seen. If you've never seen it, I don't know what your stomach's like. Watch it on your own time. And he wasn't a bust. It just took him like 2 years to fully recover. He's the absolute reason why the Warriors won at least 2 of their championships.
He was a huge role player for them.
Because especially against Cleveland, because Cleveland had no one who could match up for him. He was supposed to be like I guess in sense like a LeBron before LeBron when he came out. He's a 6'8", 6'9" point guard, could do it all, and a terrible freaking knee injury. I think it was he was with the Clippers. I think against Phoenix. Like just one of those things. You don't want to see.
Real story about this over the weekend. I hope everybody saw that kick that snapped his leg like a twig. So I read about it. Somebody sent me a message about it, and I quickly went to Twitter. I watched it and about threw up. And you do that. It's like when something smells, you're like, ooh, here, smell this. You know what I mean? Like that's it. So I immediately, Sarah, come down here.
You gotta watch this.
You gotta see this. And she's like eating a pretzel, right? And doesn't change her complexion the entire. She just, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, I can't feel my legs right now, and you're chewing, like you are ingesting. She's like, listen. I tell this to everybody. If I wind up missing one day, go get her, because she.
I want to end up missing too.
I come home and she's watching all those shows that are like, if the husband's well off with like his business, but then like the wife offs him, like he's in pieces in the basement. Those weird ones you see on those shows. She loves that. She gets a kick out of those things. Scares the hell out of me every single time.
The weird thing about the Weidman kick was, he was checking a kick, and do you guys remember that the same thing happened when he checked a kick from Bones Jones?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's the next comment down.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, it was Silva, not Bones Jones.
Oh. I couldn't. It's gross. Like the sound that it made. Yeah. It was like a branch snapping off a tree. And it was just like, oh, like you knew it. Yeah,
there was no doubt.
Yeah, for me, the worst part is when he went back and tried to step back on the leg and it kind of like, yeah, that was.
I'm gonna puke.
Who was it? That was like Willis McGahee. Dude, that one was.
Yeah.
Well, and remember that was like one of the first ones that we had seen on TV that over and over and over and over and over again they showed it.
That was a national championship, right?
Yeah, I was a senior in high school and sitting there watching it, and they just kept showing it, and it was like, why are you doing this?
Well, not only that, but they like slow-mo showed it.
Yeah.
It was after that game, I think, that they changed the way they show injuries. Like they just don't do an instant replay if they can help it, maybe once, but that's it. It's gross.
The way that guy bounced back and then had a nice NFL career, that was incredible. And, even as an Ohio State fan who was rooting against him in the game, I was rooting for him to have a good NFL career.
Wasn't Paige the one that brought this topic up?
I think so.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, you're the one that brought up Weidman, Paige.
Eat it, Paige. You reap what you sow. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We got more to talk about. Hopefully stuff that doesn't make you want to throw up, but it might. We just don't know. That's how we do things on the YSN Power Hour. We'll take a break. Be right back with all that. And then, of course, the G. Berwick Farms. What's your beef? What's your filet? Brought to you by our friends over at G. Berwick Farms. Back after this.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Aaron Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience and comprehensive wealth strategy, we assist our clients attain their goals. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealthadvisors.com. Good luck, athletes!
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we go the extra mile for you.
By finding you the right vehicle at the right price.
And by being with you for every mile of your journey.
Now, we're going the extra mile for you with an additional $1,500 on your trade. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
And welcome back to the YSN Power Hour, playing a little Foursquare today. Look at Paige and Mardell in the comments, just going at it.
They can't help themselves.
No, they're just back and forth. Like Paige is like, no, stop, I'm getting sick, I'm stuck. Oh, by the way.
One more.
Yeah, one more. He gonna do one more. It's like Frank the Tank from old school.
Well, and it's like the train wreck that you can't look away from.
Right. Yeah. Let's get to some sports we will have. Hopefully no major injuries come from that tonight, knock on wood. On the network, we've got quite a few, and some weird ones. Cancellations. Boardman and Canfield canceled. We kind of scratching our heads about that one because both teams were good last night, and it turns out Boardman is going to be quarantined for a little bit. So Canfield was looking for a team to play. Nobody stepped up. Unfortunately, 80 degrees, sunny skies, and Canfield's not going to be playing. One of the best teams in the area will not be on the field tonight. So that game is off. Brookfield versus East Liverpool. Scotty D will have that one starting at 5 o'clock. Also at 5 o'clock, Canton South at West Branch. Ian will have that for us. Alec, you're going to have Salem. You're in my hood tonight where Carrollton takes on the Quakers. That game starts at 5. Liberty at LeBray. Jacob will have that for us. The McDonough-Waterloo game is canceled because of COVID on Waterloo's side, I do believe. Then the school is going to have South Range at Struthers at Scene Park. That's going to be on Field 3, so we'll have the Raiders and Wildcats last night. Congratulations, Brandon Mikos, 17 strikeouts. Whoa. In a 6-0 win over the Struthers Wildcats, so...
Was it 9 innings? Doesn't count.
Shut up. Strikeouts would count. Smart ass.
Yeah, but it's less of an achievement if it's not a...
Yeah, it wasn't 9 innings. So.
Of course. Struthers just happy they don't have to see number 1 for South Range on the bump tonight, I gotta believe. Cardinal Mooney and Ursuline. Quinn and Ritchie. The Canfield boys will be on this one. It'll be on Scene 1 at 7 p.m., so... it's going to be a big game for both of those teams. It's always big in the Holy War, so excited for that. That's going to be our main event of the evening. Softball, a couple for you. Boardman at Canfield. That game will go on. Anthony Hartwig will have that one for you, the czar of softball here at YSN, and I will have Latonia at East Palestine. There was some fireworks last night from these two teams and these two fandoms, I guess. So we're going to have it covered from Next Level here in East. Well, I guess it's New Waterford technically, but I'll be out there, and that game starts at 5 as well with the first pitch. So that is your YSN rundown for this April 27th here, 2021. Guys, again, we talked about 17 strikeouts for Brandon Mikos last night. And I believe Bree Kohler had 16 for the softball team, so 33 strikeouts combined for South Range last night. Pretty impressive. Have you ever? How do I put this? Is there a duo that you can remember in any sport that you were just like, wow, they got really good talent on both boys and girls sides? Basketball, football, and volleyball, things of that nature that you can really pinpoint to and be like, they had really, really good talent at one time in the same class and obviously at the same time going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of.
I mean, high school-wise, I think there's been a ton, at least the past 20 years around here.
McDonald is a perfect example.
Well, yeah, this most recent year, you got to look at McDonald, and that's not even slighting Western Reserve because Western Reserve has been up there. They've just been overshadowed by McDonald. And, I think back into, like, some of the early 2000 teams, like Lisbon was the old TCL that we were in, DJ. Like, United was always solid on boys and girls. And football, volleyball, basketball, boys and girls basketball, same. I mean, Palestine had some good teams. Columbiana had a run of the mill where, for a while, just boys and girls, they were loaded. I feel like every team kind of had their own little like 2 or 3 years where they were just stacked, and that's not even getting into South Range and Springfield. The early 2000s. I know we say Springfield a lot now, but as they bring back Jeff Brink, the nostalgia for some of those fans got to be like, look, it was really LeBron James between us and state. And I think a lot of people truly believe that. Hell, I believe it. I think that was one of the best basketball teams I've ever seen. Unfortunately, there was this guy named LeBron who is arguably, and I will say arguably, one of the best basketball players in the world. And even then, they had some girls teams that were phenomenal. She graduated with me. Lindsey Johnson was a hell of a player from Springfield. And then you go right down the road to South Range. South Range has always been solid in just about everything. It'd be like throwing a dart at a dartboard, and no matter which team you hit, you could probably bring something up.
Coach?
Yeah, I agree with EB. It seems like there's a lot of years where you can look and say, hey, they've got this great female athlete and this great male athlete. And, I remember, growing up in Sebring, a couple of, Alliance Review covers that had, pictures of a boys basketball player and a girls basketball player that both were wearing purple and gold. For a lot of the times especially through the 90s.
Alec, what about you? I mean, you're the youngest out of all of us. Do you remember a team that comes off the top of the head that both wore the same uniform from the same community? I mean, have you ever experienced that?
I mean, from as being a Crestview kid, whenever I saw South Range on the schedule for anything, it was always like, that's going to be a fight, always. No matter the sport, no matter if boys or girls, it doesn't matter. That was always going to be a tough one. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, and they're always going to be like that. I just felt like watching.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to argue with that one. I think that Poland's another one of those teams. Canfield's one of those teams. West Branch, Amo chimed in. West Branch always seemingly, they just always are there. They're always there. Louisville's another team.
I got to say this. Amo, of course, West Branch wasn't mentioned, so West Branch people are going to be like, well, you forgot West Branch. Well, look, man, I coached at Salem, and I didn't even say Salem, and we had Boys County Player of the Year, Girls County Player of the Year. We have, like I said, you can make an argument for literally any school.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not any. Maybe there might be a couple schools.
Most.
That'll put a bow on the regular topics here on the YSN Power Hour. Again, appreciate you guys hopping on. But it is time to wrap up the show, which means it's time for the G. Berbick Farms What's Your Beef, What's Your Filet, brought to you by our friends over at G. Berbick Farms on New Buffalo Road. Visit them on the web at gberbickfarms.com. Alex, start us off. What's your beef or what's your filet?
I got a filet today, and my filet. So for anyone who doesn't know me too well, I love to sing. I'm a singer. I've sang through 4 years of choir in high school. I was in every musical production we've done, and I've been in other theater productions and stuff. But so I've been out of practice for a while, and I hit a personal goal today, and I hit a low note that I haven't been able to hit since I graduated. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that one. That's what
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Matt does. Matt sang. So we'll go from one singer to the next.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with a beef today. Actually, I'm going to go with a double helping of beef. The first one is I broke my lawnmower today, and I was trying to get this high grass cut now that we finally got a decent day. So I'm looking for somebody to come on board as a sponsor and maybe hook me up with a lawnmower repair as well. But my other one is the people that just don't know how to stay in their own lanes. So I happened to be looking at a couple comments on a Facebook post last night and then into this morning, and there was somebody that was disparaging a group of local athletes for not wanting to play another team allegedly and still not having the story straight on what the entire thing was. And basically calling them out for being afraid. And I was like, look, we don't need to do this. Stop calling kids out. Like, if that's you, if that's who you are as a person, seriously, just, like, go jump off a bridge or go for a long walk or something, because nobody needs that.
I'm going to turn it over to EB. I'm going to make sure he's ready, though, because I see him doing stuff. EB, what do you got?
I am ready. And my beef is actually with Quinn Pushkar, who wanted to notoriously, I guess say, talk crap to my girls' team, saying that, I don't know, they're not very good, or they can't do things without certain players, or because they've gotten second place in some AAU tournaments, that, you know, second place is a first loser. And I just want to remind him that medals are kind of heavy, and what gold looks like in championship brackets, and that he hasn't beat my team, and that I've won more medals this year with one team than he has in his whole career. So before you want to sit there and say, well, you couldn't do it without said certain players haven't been there for 2 weeks now. And last week we did it with 5 players. We had a 6 on Sunday. And last I checked, I'm pretty sure he's only won one AAU game this spring. And being in the silver bracket isn't exactly something you brag about.
Yikes. That was ice cold in the veins of EB. So I got to get more of this. I mean, we've got a couple minutes. Quinn was talking trash?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he came. One of my players worked for me this past week, and he's like, yeah, he came up to me and out of, like, nowhere just started talking trash, how, well, you know, you've gotten runner-up in a couple, but you can't even get there without certain players, and that. And so, you know, obviously word passed through. And I just want to remind him that these aren't extra medals. These have been earned medals.
Is this your player or his player?
That's my player.
Okay, just making sure. Interesting.
Can we? Where's Quinn? Can we get Quinn?
I don't know where he is. I mean, I'm guessing he's at practice.
Well, he probably call practice for about 4 hours a day, every day, and then see how it works on the weekends.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. It got real cold in here.
But I do have a filet. I get to go hang out outside on a patio with a couple pretty good friends. I think you've heard think you've heard of their daughters before. One of them was pretty good. They led the McDonald girls team to the state championship.
You going to the Howards?
Yeah, we're meeting up at Birdfish.
Very cool. Very cool. Wait, is it? No, it's not. It's not Sesame Burger Day.
No, it's not. It's just 80 degrees and sunny out. So
Sesame Burger, not a sponsor.
Sorry, my metals are clinking together. I might not be able to hear you right now.
Oh
man, there is tea everywhere being spilled.
It's unbelievable.
Can we need a mop for all this tea that got spilled.
Usually it's just for the drip around here, but there is a ton of tea just laying all over the floor right now. Mine is going to be along the same as Matt's, is people staying in their own lanes. And again, I've done this before, but if you don't have a source, it's called an opinion. And if you don't believe you're in your opinion and you can't back it up, then just let it be. Like, don't invest into an argument if it's just an opinion and call it fact because you, quote, have been around and you've heard it all your life. That doesn't mean that it's a fact. So whoever needs to hear that, listen. Like, crank it up a little bit. You are allowed to have opinions. You're also allowed to be wrong, and your opinions can be wrong. Your opinions are not my facts. So, if you're going to be the gossip girl or the gossip guy in your area, make sure that you have your stuff straight. Make sure that your facts are straight, they're dedicated, and you have sources to be cited. Because otherwise, they're opinions, and you're going to get called out, and you're not going to know what to say about it, and you're going to get mumble over whatever words you're going to try to get over. Just educate yourself. That's it. That's all I'm asking. If you have a fact, cite your source. Otherwise, it's an opinion. And if it's an opinion, it's still okay. Just be able to back it up. That's all I'm going to say. There's some more tea on the floor. So,
very interesting.
Very intriguing. That's going to do it for our show today. Alec, thank you. I know you're gone for the rest of the week, so we'll see you next week. Unfortunately,
Tuesday tea time. Let's go.
I like that. We got to get that sponsored. What's that place out in Pittsburgh? The tea place?
Oh, I don't know. I was thinking we could get a golf course to sponsor it.
Anybody know anybody that knows a golf course treasurer?
I think I do.
Okay. We'll check with them after. That'll do it for our show. Thanks to all our sponsors today for hanging with us. Thanks for you for checking in. And, of course, thanks to our great panelists, Alec, EB, and, of course, the coach. I'm DJ. We'll see you tomorrow on the Power Hour, 3 to 4, right here on your sports network. I almost forgot to do the flag. We're trying to do this flag thing. Here we go.